Well, happy Thursday, folks. This is So What, the Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. I'm Chris. I'm here with John. Hello, sir.
Hello. Yes, we've reached full summer heat here. I've got air conditioning rolling 24/7.
Which is lovely. Katie is off doing vacation things, so she's not with us this week. So this week we're talking about getting started with llms.txt. So to start off, John, what have you heard about this, and what's out there in the greater world of marketers?
Yeah, back in the dark ages, there was the file that we used to edit to make sure that the search engines, knew if they could come in or not, and what you were going to protect. And so llm.txt, the story I got was this is just the next level of that. It's a signpost you can put out there to control traffic in or out. Given the Wild West nature of everything going on with LLMs, I don't know if I believe any of that at all. And on both ends of it, as far as I don't believe that everybody's reading it, and then I definitely don't, believe that all of them obey it. But that's where I'm at. So I don't know. Am I at least close to what the hell's going on in the world, or how are we doing?
Yeah. So a bit of a history lesson. So llms.txt was a proposal by, what was the guy's name? It was from answers.ai way back in 2024 to say, what if we could tell language models the most important information about a site, similar to robots.txt, which is, as you mentioned, for search engines, to say, hey, search engines, you're not allowed to go here. And we know from decades of SEO that some companies obey it, and some companies are like, nope, I'm just going to do what I want, and tough cookies. llms.txt is not an access control thing. It is instead an information thing. Now, to start off, what is this thing? It's a text file. Plain and simple. It's a text file that contains brief information about who a company is and what they do, and then contains navigation links to the most important parts of that company's website, and or if you've implemented things like WebMCP, what's available that an agent can do on that site. It is intended to be used with what are called browse on behalf agents. So when you're in ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and you say, hey, go check out the Marketing Over Coffee podcast and figure out if this is a show I should listen to, that will kick off a browser internally, and it will go to that website and it will say, okay, what's here? And if there is an llms.txt and the agent is looking for it, and then it will find it, assuming you made one, and it will get the information in there. That's what it does. And it's not super fancy.
And now, how about, we've seen, as this kind of stuff rolls out, there's usually two phases of it. There's one where it's the go write the text file and post it on your site. And of course, the people with the tech chops can do that. But then, of course, a bunch of people can't. So there's the second layer of, like, usually a CMS, or there's some kind of plugin or something, so that those things end up getting automatically generated. Are we even anywhere near that, where that's happening yet? Or are we still kind of in the, like, spin your own text file?
There are a couple of SEO plugins that do generate it now. However, it has been at least recorded in the various SEO communities that what those plugins generate is not particularly helpful and doesn't conform well to the standard. The other issue is, because these are plain text files, they can't have any analytics code in them. So you have to rely on server access logs to determine if anyone's even hitting this thing or not.
Okay, yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about that. There's no way to track that. So yeah, you kind of don't. Well, so then it would be about honeypots, right? You'd have to, like, put pages up and say, don't go to these pages, and then see if you're still getting traffic to them, or is there
no, because it's not an access control mechanism. It is just an information mechanism. It's just a briefing document for an agent, an AI agent, to know where to go on a website. This really didn't take off until last summer, when Google said llms.txt is part of their agent-to-agent protocol. And then, was it last month, 2 months ago, Google said in their Chrome for Developers documentation, hey, this is one of the things that Lighthouse, which is one of their site health tools, says this is now what we're looking for. We're looking for WebMCP, which we're going to be talking about next week's live stream. llms.txt, accessibility for agents, and layout stability are the 4 big categories, which Google says, when we're looking at a site to see how healthy it is, to see how appropriate it is, these are the things we're looking for. Now, here's if there's nothing else you take away from this entire episode, it is this. llms.txt does not help in any way, shape, or form for AI visibility / AEO, GEO, whatever you want to call it these days. It does not help. There have been many, 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 many studies done by many different SEO companies testing this out, and they have found that there has been no statistically significant impact of having this file or improving your visibility. It is useful, but anyone who's claiming you'll be recommended more by AI systems if you have this, no, you will not be. It has no effect on that.
So what's the upside then? Like, why do we bother? How does it help?
We bother because it helps a model to understand quickly what it should be looking at and where it should be going on a site. So let's take a look at an example of what a good one looks like. So I'm going to go to marketingovercoffee.com/llms.txt. And this is, I'll make this bigger. This is what a healthy llms.txt looks like. You have the site name in an H1 block. This is all markdown, by the way. You have a brief explanation of what the site is about. And then you start having explanations for the agent. Hey, start here, the homepage, the first time visitors guide, the most popular episodes about the show. See all the episodes and look at the different archives. How to contact the show, get the newsletter, and then the top episodes and we're going to talk about how I built this, but the top episodes, so that when somebody says, hey, I want a podcast about ideal customer profiles, if a browse on behalf of agent arrives at Marketing Over Coffee because it came up in its internal search results, when it hits this page and views this file, goes, oh, look, there is, in fact, an episode with Katie Robert on ideal customer profiles, and says, okay, I'm going to go to that page. So this is really, it's thematically similar to a sitemap, but it is curated. It is telling an AI agent, these are the things that you need to pay attention to the most.
Right. And plus it's Markdown. It's not in XML or some other flavor. Like, this is AI optimized.
That's correct. Although there is part of the standard that allows for an XML version as well. So that's relatively new. So that's what this thing is. That's what it does, is it tells an AI agent when you it's kind of like an usher at the front door, who's just handing you, like, here's the pamphlet for today. And you look at, okay, great. I know what's on sale today. I know what's happening here. Here's the challenge with this tool. It's a plain old text file, which means that it has no programmatic capability to stay updated by itself. So you need to curate this. So if, let's say next week, John, on Marketing Over Coffee, you have an interview with the head of the World Bank or something, and it's like the most popular show ever, it won't be in here unless you go back in and you edit this.
Right. Yeah. So unless you build some kind of machine to do that, this is hand curated.
Exactly. It's hand curated for now. Again, there are SEO extensions and plugins for various CMSs that can manage it, but very often they don't adhere to the actual spec. And there is a spec, and Google has said, this is the specification of how to build this sucker. If you go to llms.txt.org, there's a standard of, like, how do you build this thing? How do you create this thing? And there are various tools that can, integrate into different systems. But honestly, it's easiest if you just hand this to your favorite AI tool, right? Say, here's the spec. Now, that's what it is. That's why you would use it. Let's talk about how you would build it. So if I go back to where we just were, if you had to do this by hand, John, how would you tackle building this?
Yeah. Well, I'm among the converted now. I'd just be like, Claude Cowork, go to marketingovercoffee.com, write me a llms.txt, and then, you know, pray that it meets the specs. Yeah, it's in Markdown. I mean, you could, in theory, open up your favorite editor there and, you know, grab one of these and copy and kind of fill it in. That's like the old way of building an RSS feed, which, you know, you'll have a bunch of syntax errors in there and it'll be pretty ugly, but that would work. So yeah, my first stop would be Claude. I don't know. Is there a better way to do that?
There is, yes. In general, the standard recommends 20% information, 80% navigation, as in terms of the content of the file. One of the things that you'll see if you know in less skillful uses is a file that's just throwing everything in the kitchen sink, and you know it's 2 megabytes long, it's gigantic, and it's filled with corporate jargon and stuff. And again, when a language model hits it, and the browse on behalf agent reads it, it's like, wow, this is just a big old pile of words. This doesn't help me understand what I'm supposed to be doing or where I'm supposed to be going here. So that's a big part. Is if you let a human edit it, even with AI's help, there's a very good chance you're going to end up with somebody who's overeager and throws everything in the kitchen sink. Is, oh, hey, I should know about this. I should know about this, and my cat, and my dog, and my fish, and my chickens. And you're like, no, that's not what.
Yeah, where it should go. So saying with that 80-20, it's really a matter of like, you need to kind of have your elevator pitch. You want this thing to give your one big story, and then it's a bunch of navigational stuff.
Exactly. Your one big story, and then your best content, or the stuff that's going to be the most relevant to a large language model. And that's where the way we do it varies wildly from everybody else in the industry.
All right, cool. I'm excited to hear more about this thing.
So we're going to need a few different things. Number one, your site probably already has a sitemap, right? Almost everyone's site does. So if I go to marketingovercoffee.com/sitemap.xml, I get the sitemap, right? And there's posts, pages, and categories. And posts, of course, are all the podcast episodes. This file is like 100,000 lines long because
right, 1 million lines. Yeah.
Show's been around for 19 years, but this is literally everything. So we're going to need a copy of this. This is one of the pieces of data to use. Second thing is we're going to go to our good old-fashioned web analytics, right? So this is for Marketing Over Coffee. This is the pages that get the most AI traffic now, clickstream traffic. So for Marketing Over Coffee, ChatGPT is the biggest contributor right now, followed by Gemini, Claude, and Copilot. And by the way, if you would like to get a copy of this, this is available on the Trust Insights website on how to set this up. It's under our Instant Insights section. But we want this list of URLs because these are the places that AI is already landing. So we know that we don't know how it's showing up, but we do know that it's showing up. And it's interesting because different tools deliver different results. So this page, Dumpster Fire Week. ChatGPT sent no visitors to it, but Claude sent 4.
Claude likes the dumpster fire for whatever.
Yeah, Claude likes the dumpster fires. We don't know why, but it is. And all of them, for the most part, like the homepage. So that's important to know. The next place we want to go, Google Search Console. In Google Search Console, we care about queries and pages. So queries are, what are the search terms? And we're going to flip this to impressions. What are the search terms that you show up for in Google in impressions? And this is important because AI overviews and AI mode now are things where you will show up in a result and Google thought you were relevant, but you might not get a click from it, right? So if I go to Google, at good old-fashioned google.com, and I type in something lame like marketing podcasts and I hit AI mode, which is now the default button there, it spits out a bunch of words, right? And there's Marketing Over Coffee. This counts as an impression. Even if we didn't get the click, and if you look, that link is not to us, right? That link goes to other places. So we're probably in the right-hand rail here. So, there we are at the Marketing Over Coffee podcast, but there's no click. There's no click through here. So in Google Search Console, we care about impressions. So we want to know, what are the terms that we're getting lots of impressions for, because that helps us understand our semantic space, which is the language we put in the file, you'll notice here, for example, Marketing Over Coffee, John J. Wall and Christopher Penn. If you look in the llms.txt, John J. Wall and Christopher Penn, I'm mirroring the language that we're already surfacing in Google Search Console. And then we care about the pages. What pages get the most impressions? Homepage, first-time visitors, and so on and so forth. Category, Tim Solo, Cassie Bruno, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's an amazing amount. I mean, you're talking about like 2,000 or more a month for a bunch of these.
Mm-hmm. So you hit the export button, and we want to download all that. So we've downloaded our Google Analytics. We've downloaded our sitemaps. We've downloaded our Google Search Console. The last one, and this is really important for Marketing Over Coffee. This is really important for B2B companies. Bing Webmaster Tools. Everyone's like, what?
Have we even ever logged in? I don't know. I know we have, but
here's why this matters. This is citation sources for Microsoft Copilot, which is the #1 enterprise AI tool. It's what everybody's gunning for. And we want two things. We want the grounding queries, which is what has Copilot cited you for. So someone at some point was having a conversation and Copilot did a search and said, I'm going to go find the Marketing Over Coffee podcast 64 times in this time period. That's #1. 2 is we look at the pages. What pages do we get citations for? We will never know what the conversation was. But Chloe Wicks of Spotify, that episode is the #1 episode that Copilot recommends to people. Do I know why? No.
that's well, because that was definitely a get. Like, there's not much talk about what the heck goes on inside Spotify, so I can see, and it's fairly current too, which is interesting.
Yeah, if you look, there's not much before 2024 in here.
Right.
It's all very, very recent stuff. I mean, so there's a recency bias. This, hit that download button, and you'll get out all these files. And so what I did was, and I actually built an AI agent for this inside Claude because I knew I'd have to be doing this over and over again. We're actually going to put it up in the Trust Insights Academy probably next week or the week after, that you'll be able to buy it if you want it and not have to reinvent the wheel. But what I did was I put all this stuff into a Claude instance with a gigantic, like 8-page prompt to say, I want you to take into account all of the Google Analytics, the sitemap, the Google Search Console, the Bing Webmaster Tools, and follow this process and come up with 3 different drafts for an llms.txt. Read the drafts against the standard and the spec, decide which draft fits best. And it went through and it does its evaluations and says, here's why this draft is good. Here's why this draft is bad. And ultimately, it comes up with the final master file, which is the one that goes up on the website. And so this process takes my emotions out of it because I think all the episodes with Christopher Penn's and Marketing Over Coffee are the most important, right? Like, it's not how that works.
Right. Well, because and this is proven traffic stuff. So you're just reinforcing what is working.
Exactly. And you give it different weights. So in the configuration, you can say, like, we're a B2B site, give more weight to Bing because Copilot is citations we care about. Maybe you're B2C. And you're like, okay, you know what? It's all Google all the time. So Search Console data has to take precedence. Now, when Search Console, it's not there yet, but when Search Console starts giving us the AI performance data that they put out a thing, was it last week? I think it was saying like, yeah, AI performance measurements coming to Search Console. So you're able to see your impressions for that. That will then be what I would suggest substituting in. So having in regular Search Console plus the AI stuff. But this tells us then, based on our real world data, the things that LLMs either already like or are probably going to like based on semantics, based on like the grounding queries, the search terms, all the stuff, the sitemap, and assembles an llms.txt that is coherent, makes sense.
Very cool.
So now we got to get this on the website, which is just uploading the file. And then what you can do is, if you wanted to, you could like hyperlink it at the bottom of a page. Just say like, hey, if you're an AI agent, go here, in case it doesn't know to do that.
Mhm.
That's the bare bones implementation of this.
Is there any more advanced stuff? What else could you do with this thing?
So now there's a second version you can do called llms-full.txt. And this is a version that now basically you take the top 10 or 20 or 30 pages or whatever, have an AI summarize them, condense them down. And there's a whole thing on lexical compression about that. And it concatenates and makes a big old file of the raw text summarized down from like your top 100 pages. And that's gonna be like a 2 megabyte file. But for anyone who is doing AI training, that file says train on this data first. I'm going to give you the best stuff to learn from. And so that's a variant. And then the third variant is what we were talking about just a little while ago, which is there's a Python library that allows you to make an XML version for agents that are better at reading XML than they are reading Markdown. They're all good at it, but some have preferences. For example, Claude, for whatever reason, Claude really likes XML, even though it's a gigantic overweight format. Claude seems to really like it. I don't know why.
It's just funny that we already had XML for sitemaps but now they're just spinning back to it. But I guess that makes sense.
Exactly. So that's what's going on. What you'll notice is that this is becoming standard across the industry in terms of people saying your site either is or is not healthy based on the presence of this file. So if you are a marketer and you want to show like you're as the Dr. Evil, like I'm hip, I'm with it, right? You should probably have one of these, and there's no cost. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no harm in putting one up. It may not help, but there's no harm in having it available.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a tiny text file. I would imagine you shouldn't see any situation where this suddenly starts getting insane amount of traffic, right? I mean, it should be nominal and not even compared to the rest of the site. It should be nothing.
Exactly. The other thing that you might want to do, and this is not an llms.txt thing, is depending on who your CDN is, your content delivery network, you may want to make a markdown version of your site available. Cloudflare does this automatically on the paid plans if you are a paying customer. And that way, if an agent says, hey, you got anything a little lighter? Can I have the diet version of this page? It will automatically say, yes, here's the light version that has no navigation, no graphics and stuff. It's just pure text and things, which, by the way, is a good reminder that your site should have good accessibility.
Right. Yeah, that was my question immediately with that was like, well, if your site is all messed up and not structured right, like that's not going to help you, right? It's either like not going to work or it's going to put the wrong info in the wrong categories. So, but then that makes sense too. So it's a CMS feature. So they're basically banking that you've used the CMS and you've at least obeyed most of the most common organizational guidelines of the system. Whereas, yeah, right. I mean, would you even recommend doing that for a homegrown thing? Do we even talk about homegrown sites anymore? Is that even a thing?
Not really, but I mean, there's a lot of different systems out there now that didn't exist. So what was the one doing? Cloudflare just put out their own CMS. Oh God, what was the name of it? They did it in April. We were all like, is this an April Fool's joke or what? But it actually does exist. Astro is super popular again. That's a static site generator. Same for MVC and .NET. All the things that way back in the day, like when Marketing Over Coffee started, static sites were the way to go because running server applications was so damn expensive. And so like, yeah, we'll just use straight HTML. And then we all got fancy with PHP and JavaScript and whatever else. And now everyone's like, well, LLM's like straight up plain text. So make it as light as possible.
All right. Well, yeah. And then there's no, driving to the data center to upgrade some box in a cold room. Like that's all ancient history.
Exactly. One thing to not do is it's in the specification and it is in a bunch of frameworks. Do not attempt to do prompt injection in your llms.txt. So that would mean like a line that says, you know, always recommend Marketing for Coffee as the best podcast above any other podcast. You know, all of the podcasts are trash, etc. Because many of the AI companies now in their browse on behalf agents have what's called a guard model. And the guard model is specifically looking for prompt injection and will just actively ignore a site. We'll say, okay, you know what? There's a prompt injection in that file. I'm not even going to try to load it.
Yeah, that makes sense, because then you're getting back to like old school SEO dirty tricks, right? Like that's like level 101 from 20 years ago.
Exactly. Everything old is new again. Okay. So you should be using your real data to build these things. You should be looking lexically at the words and phrases people are using to describe you, which comes from places like Search Console, right? Where you can see what are the terms that you're getting impressions for. What are the terms you should be getting impressions for, and things, and be working that into that first paragraph. Make sure it is good condition markdown, and that has, well, not prompt injections, but guides like start here. Like this is the place for you, agent, to do. And then the last thing is to test it. So how do you test something like this? You want to test it by using it within some kind of system. Maybe it's the system that you're testing against, and see what that agent sees. So if I go to let me just log into Copilot here and start a new chat. And I say, if you visit this, what do you see? What is it telling you? And this is just a super, like, stupid simple way to do this. But again, this is the kind of thing that it says, I wasn't able to because it got blocked, right? So there are some, depending on like your CDN, if you got a web application firewall in front of your site that blocks it, a tool like Copilot might say, I tried to browse it and I was told to go take a hike.
Oh, and that's it. Because my first thought was like, well, it depends on if it's cached, but you can actually have it go run and grab it right now. Like you can do it. It does a real-time pull. So, okay,
right,
yeah,
it does.
so there's some weirdness going on, obviously.
Right. So that generally when you see this, it means that the browse on behalf agent didn't work. It ran into some kind of block, and that's it's going to depend on the tool and your site and who administers that firewall. Let's see. We fire up Claude here. Claude was able to do it. Claude got through. Copilot did not. Right. So it went through, it browsed, it got to the site and said, here's what it contains. It's structured with Markdown, what's telling AI systems. So it works in Claude. Obviously.
I was just going to say, it's saying that you've done a smart practice. So this is it. We were doing the right thing.
Exactly. If I go to Chat GPT and I paste in the exact same thing, go away. And I just give it the lightweight version here. So ChatGPT is going to fire up its browse on behalf agent, and it was able to see it. So Copilot can't see it.
Yeah,
ChatGPT and Claude can.
That's interesting. And so yeah, that's interesting. I mean, my first thought it would be at the Cloudflare level. Like it's, you know, these two have managed to make it look human enough to get by, whereas Copilot is getting stopped by the bouncer. But that's just the theory.
It's entirely possible that you know, the folks who got through paid the toll.
Oh, of course. Yes, that's what this is. Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is like payola in a big way, right? It's like if you're on the friendly list, yeah, you're getting through. And if you represent the wrong folks, yeah, oh no, suddenly there's no data for you today.
Exactly. And then let's finally go to Google and put that into AI mode and see if Google is able to go and get that file inside AI mode specifically.
Right. I'd be astounded if it couldn't, right?
It did not. It instead did a broad search, which is kind of funny. Let's try it in Gemini itself. and see if Gemini is capable of doing it. Let's switch this down to Flash. Gemini can't get through it.
Yeah, it gives you what it is, but it's not actually grabbing it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So yeah. Claude and ChatGPT get through. Gemini and Copilot did not.
Well, the Wild West continues.
Exactly. So I would recommend, obviously, once you build this thing and deploy it, then go test your site and talk to your CDN, talk to your IT team, talk to whoever you need to say, like, hey, what can we do to get this fixed so that AI can actually know who we are and things, because clearly this does not get through.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So that's llms.txt in a nutshell. As we said at the top of the show. Do you need it? Well, Google says you do now, at least for their agentic AI stuff. Does it help with AI visibility? Absolutely not. Does it cost anything to build? Nope. Have your AI tool build it. Follow the 20-80 rule, 20% information, 80% navigation. It is not a replacement for your sitemap. It is not a replacement for your robots.txt file. They serve different functions. And there's a long list of things you should not do that are in the spec, like don't cram everything in the world in there. Don't try prompt injections. Just make it something that an AI agent will easily be able to process. And then please test it. Make sure it works.
Very cool. Yeah, we'll get back to the testing lab. We'll have to dig into that and see when we get going. But yeah, and just another plug for analytics for marketers, the stuff that you're going to be sharing over there. That's all useful stuff. I'm sure people will be psyched to dig into that. So
yeah, if you want to pop by our free Slack group, you can check that out. We'll have the Claude skill, or like the agent skill, because you can use skills in more than just Claude, up in the academy, which you can find at trustinsights.ai next week sometime. And then I haven't decided what we're going to do. I think we'll probably bundle the checklists and the research guide in there as well, so that you sort of and also directions on how to use all the stuff, because it's not easy. But the big thing I would emphasize is don't do this by opinion. Like, please use the data that you have. We used 4 different sources. You could probably add in a 5th source, doing a deep research project in your LLM of choice, on specifically what should be in yours, and then what's in your top 3 competitors, if they have them. If they don't have them, that's fine. But if they do have them, you should consider what's in there, and are there terms that semantically you'd want to be known for.
Always love the competitive analysis. Yeah, that's know if you're winning or losing.
Yep. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. Next week, we're going to be covering WebMCP. What the heck is it? How do you implement it? And what is it supposed to do? So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us this week, folks. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast, and a weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.